The seventh and final day along the St Edmund Way begins at the historic town of Thetford and follows the Little Ouse River west past the Priory ruins, under the A11 and into Thetford's vast woodland around Abbey Heath. Continuing north, the route passes a large power station and turns west again past the site of St Helens Church. Just beyond is Santen Church and medieval moat, which are passed before arriving at the tiny village of Santon Downham. The St Edmund Way heads out of the village through more woodland to join a track that leads straight to the High Street of Brandon and the end of this long distance trail. Welcome to the very final day of the St Edmund Way. I'm here in the historic town of Thetford with an interesting 9-mile route ahead which takes me all the way to Brandon. The path begins along the Little Ouse with views over to the ruins of Thetford Priory on the other side of the river. The Priory of Our Lady of Thetford was one of the largest and most important monasteries in medieval East Anglia. Founded in the early 12th century, there are extensive ruins open to the public, which include the lower walls of the church and cloister, a very impressive selection of rooms making up the prior's lodgings, and an almost complete 14th century gatehouse. Getting back on track, the path heads under another bridge to keep to the riverbank footpath and continues under the A11 bypass further ahead. Just beyond the A11 is a small private fishing lake called Kingfisher Lake. As the name would suggest, kingfishers are often seen here, along with other wildlife that seem to ignore the rumbling traffic nearby. After a couple of miles of peaceful woodland and riverbank walking, there is a sudden shock to the system. This large structure is a power plant which seems to be a rather odd place for one. The St Edmund Way sticks to the riverbank path past the building, with its rumbling noises quickly fading away as the path progresses west. A short section of road walking is another shock, but this one lasts only a few minutes before the path heads back into the woodland and away from the busy traffic. As you leave the woodland just before Santen Downham Country Park, there's the site of St Helens Church. A nearby information board shows what this early 12th century church would have looked like thanks to excavations in 1961 and 62. They found that parts of the church were built from reused Roman tile and mortar, with possible older phases of the church dating to the 11th century. Standing high up on the hill overlooking the Little Ouse River, and with the natural spring of St Helens well nearby, you can clearly see why this site was chosen to build a church. As you enter Santon Downham Country Park, the St Edmund Way passes the tiny All Saints Church. All Saints was rebuilt in 1628 on the site of an earlier medieval church, with later remodelling in 1858. Just a few minutes' walk from here is the medieval moated site of Santen Hall or Lodge. Believed to date to the 13th century, the earthworks remain in remarkable condition thanks to the lack of later building work and farming. Just to the west are also the earthworks of the medieval village of Santon. As you enter the village of Santen Downham, you can't miss the 13th century church which overlooks the green. The church has some Norman elements suggesting that it's been remodelled over the centuries and serves a tiny population of less than 240 inhabitants. Leaving the village marks the final part of the St Edmund Way to the town of Brandon. A simple walk through another part of Thetford Forest leads past horse paddocks to Gashouse Drove. The Drove is a linear track taking you straight to the High Street in Brandon town centre. The St Edmund Way ends here because Brandon has a significant Saxon heritage which has continued through the medieval period to the present day and lies deep within the Saxon kingdom of the East Angles.